So everybody, please welcome Dr. Ankit Izardar, data engineer and application specialist at SciCORE, University of Basel. So Ankit will be sharing the university's journey migrating decades of research data into LabKey Sample Manager, from tackling legacy systems to automating the process with LabKey's Python API. He'll also share some key lessons learned and how Basel's team is now using modern tools to build a sustainable, scalable foundation for research data management. So, Ankit, please take it away.
Thank you, Varun, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. So, as Varun mentioned in this presentation, I would like to share with you how we migrated decades of research data from several university research labs who were using a legacy system into LabKey Sample Manager. I'll walk you through the main challenges that our researchers were facing with old systems, the steps that we took during the migration, and the key lessons that we learned along the way. So let me start with a quick introduction of SciCORE. So SciCORE is the Center for Scientific Computing at the University of Basel since 2014. We are one of the central IT service providers with a focus on providing support to our scientists in terms of research. We are a team of around 20 domain experts with expertise ranging in data engineering, scientific software development, high performance computing, and system specialists, and so on. Now, at SciCORE, we provide a broad range of services which can be classified into three main categories. So the first is HPC infrastructure, means high performance computing infrastructure. In this service, we provide our users the compute clusters in Linux, high-speed storage, GPUs, and even provide training on how to use these infrastructure. The second service that we provide is software and data services. So this means that we provide a scientific software stack to our users. We provide support with data management tools such as LabKey, and also provides services such as web services hosting. And the third, we focus on scientific support. So in this, we basically help our researchers in the field of statistics, bioinformatics, or any other specialized research needs that they might have. Now, at SciCORE, one of our cornerstone data management tool that we have is LabKey. And we have made it available to all the research lab at University of Basel and to our partner institutions. Now, since last year, we have had the opportunity to upgrade to LabKey professional version, thanks to the funding from the university. So this upgrade includes the Sample Manager professional version, which was a highly requested feature from our users. Now, thanks to this enhancement, we are now able to offer more robust sample management capabilities to a very large number of our users. So at present, we have more than 500 active users across various departments at the university, ranging from archaeology, humanities, to biomedicine. So at SciCORE, we provide three LabKey instances to our users. So the first one is SciCORE main LabKey server. This is basically a primary production server for the research data. The second is a SciCORE LabKey Collab server. So this is designed for collaboration with external users. So our researchers can use this server to collaborate with users who are not part of University of Basel or partner institutions. And third is the SciCORE LabKey Dev server. So this instance is used for testing purpose. Our users can test and explore various configurations, and from there they can then move on to the main LabKey server. Now, one such example where we were able to bring value in terms of sample management capabilities is at the Department of Biomedicine at the university. So they previously relied on an open source Java-based sample management tool that was used by around 30 research groups at Department of Biomedicine. And these research groups work in 4 different areas of research. So ranging from, let's say, cancer biology, immunology and infectious disease, tissue development and regeneration, neuroscience, and so on. So each with its unique scientific workflow and highly heterogeneous data sets. Now, this tool worked quite well in the early years, but over time, so some challenges became quite critical. So, for example, the tool was no longer maintained, so meaning there was no developer support and no updates. There was no security update, so without security patches, there was a growing risk for sensitive data for our users. Then no new features could be added, so essentially the platform was frozen. And the outdated Java code base created a sort of technological debt, making the integration or extension very difficult with other tools. So overall, the system faced a high risk of obsolescence, and in short, it was no longer a sustainable long-term solution for the research labs at Department of Biomedicine. So these challenges basically highlighted the need for a modern solution, and LabKey Sample Manager offered exactly that. And with any other migration, making the switch isn't just about swapping one tool for the another. It requires a well-structured and clearly communicated plan to ensure that there is a smooth transition for all the research groups involved. So that's what we set out to do. At SciCORE, we carefully planned the entire migration journey. And we structured this migration journey in 2 steps. So in step 1, we focused on the planning part. So as you can see here, we divided this step 1 into 3 phases. In phase 1, the users of the old system, they could still access it, and they can make changes to the data. And we encouraged them to make an export of the data in the following file formats. Then the second phase, the old system was made read-only, so the users cannot make any changes to it. And this was the last opportunity for the users to export their data. And finally, in the third phase, the old system was made completely shut down, and they could no longer access the data, and it was not possible to make an export. So once the users have their data exported, we encourage them to clean and normalize it before importing into the sample manager. And also at SciCORE, we provided support in terms of data restructuring according to LabKey Sample Manager. So once we had this plan and the migration timeline was decided, we provided a thorough documentation of the whole process. We created step-by-step instructions for our users, which are available on our website, which you can also visit. And also used multiple communication channels, such as emails. We organized events and even talked directly to the research labs to ensure that there is sufficient awareness. So at the end of the day, communication is what makes a migration plan work. And providing a clear and consistent updates ensures that everyone remains on the same page, and this transition is smooth. Now, coming to step 2, once all the users were informed of the migration plan, we moved basically to the execution phase. Now, in this phase, we started with a proof of concept with one of the research lab at Department of Biomedicine. And here we worked closely with the group to perform cleanup and normalize their exported data. By normalization here, I mean handling details like fixing inconsistencies in date formats and harmonizing casing or spelling variations. For example, entries like human, which can be written in many different ways. So we supported the research lab in those harmonization process. And after the data cleanup step, we then carefully mapped the old data structure according to the LabKey Sample Manager. So in this step, the goal was to make sure that nothing was lost. And at the same time, everything was aligned with how groups wanted to work going forward. And I have to say here that, in fact, this process turned out to be a great opportunity for the labs, or for all the research labs, to really rethink and improve their scientific workflows. Now, for the actual import of the data into this LabKey Sample Manager, we used the Sample Manager Python API to automate the import process. And since this was our first time using the Sample Manager Python API, we received a lot of support from our LabKey team, our technical account managers, which was extremely valuable. Now, the scripts that we developed for this purpose, they are also available on our GitLab, which can also be accessed and reused if you like, and they are available using this link here. Now, once the proof of concept was successful, we applied a similar workflow to the rest of the research labs. But as I mentioned earlier, these labs were working in 4 different areas, so which meant that their data was quite diverse and it was also heterogeneous. So for each group, we have to make adjustment to our scripts to account for their specific needs. And after we imported the data, we conducted iterative reviews with each of the lab, making sure that the samples that were imported, the source type, the sample types, and all the lineages between them are correct. Now, beyond just importing the data for them, we also wanted to empower the research labs to handle the data import themselves. So together, again, with LabKey team, we organized webinars on how to use LabKey user interface to be able to import the data, as well as also the best practices for working with samples in Sample Manager. So we also recorded these webinars and the videos. They are available on our website for also anyone to access, which you can visit using this link here. Now, next I want to walk you through on how we organize this data from different research labs inside LabKey at SciCORE. So one of the real strengths of LabKey is really the ability to organize the data into independent projects on a shared platform. So for each of the research lab, we created a project for them, which is really a self-contained environment that the labs can shape according to the needs, and they can really customize it. And of course, these projects remain fully private, they are fully secure. Now, within these projects, the groups have the flexibility to define their own sources and sample types in the sample manager, as you can see here, so that they can adapt to the scientific workflows rather than being forced into the fixed model, which was the case with the old system. So, for example, like one lab working on cancer research can have a different workflow than another group studying infectious diseases. So both workflows can be different, but the beauty of LabKey is that they can coexist seamlessly on the same platform in an independent sample manager instances. Now, talking about the permissions. So for each project, we created custom groups, as you can see here in this example. And for groups like admins and users, we assign project admins to, for example, here, Bentar's admins who have complete control within the project. Now, these project managers can manage who gets access, add or remove users, and assign role-based permissions. So this means that they can tailor access depending on the role. So for instance, giving lab members who are the users just editor right, while maybe giving a full control of a folder to senior researchers. So in this way, each lab can really decide independently of the other on how they really want to structure the access within their project. Now, let's take a look at what this migration actually delivered for the research groups. So first is the user feedback. So we received quite positive feedback from our users. They find the new platform much easier to navigate and to manage the data as compared to the old system. Especially all the researchers, they appreciated the introduction of role-based permissions which sort of gave them additional confidence that their data is secure and it can be properly controlled. Now, the second is platform improvement. So by moving to LabKey Sample Manager, the Department of Biomedicine, they found they have now a centralized and secure way of managing samples. And the data across project is more harmonized. As I mentioned earlier about this different set of date formats or case spellings and variations and so on. So this was the opportunity for the lab to harmonize the data and have it on the LabKey Sample Manager. Not to mention the improved traceability. So the audit trail in LabKey Sample Manager gave them it's easier to trace and track samples over time. So it was a really game changer in this case. Now, talking about imports, so LabKey also provides flexible ways to import. So for example, either using the interface where you can drag and drop the Excel files, or using the LabKey Sample Manager Python API. And also the ability to manage storage. So this also was not the case with the previous system that they were using. And they would always have to ask the infrastructure team to manage the storage. But with LabKey Sample Manager, they were able to do or manage this storage by themselves. Now, the third is the research impact. So moving on to LabKey Sample Manager, the researchers now have faster access to reliable and validated data. This basically directly improves reproducibility and data integrity across different projects. And most importantly, it lays a strong foundation for the future, whether that's integrating with external databases, connecting to visualization tools, or expanding into new workflows. So overall, the migration didn't just move data from, let's say, one system to another. It really modernized the way the groups work with the samples and also prepared us for what comes next. So talking about next, looking ahead, our next step is to introduce the study model to our users. Now the goal is to let them connect their sample data with the study level information, so such as participant demographics, clinical data, visit details, such as subject ID, visit dates, and so on. So with this, they will be able to see, for example, not only what sample was collected, but also from which participant it came from, at which visit, and how it relates to the clinical data. And we believe that by aligning samples with a broader study context, our users will gain a much more complete picture of the research. And this will also open a new exciting possibility for analysis. Now, migration brought a lot of benefits to the research lab, as I mentioned before, but it wasn't without its challenges, and we learned a number of lessons along the way. So let me share a few key recommendations for anyone who is planning a similar journey. First is early engagement. So it's really important to involve all the researchers, all the users who are part of this process right from the start, and keep communication clear, and most importantly, continuous throughout the process. That early buy-in makes a huge difference later on. Second is pilot first. We began with a smaller pilot group, as I mentioned, with one research lab. We tested the process using the Sample Manager Python API. We validated results with the group research lab, and only then we expanded to other users. This iterative approach basically helped us to identify issues early on and also build confidence step by step. The third is data harmonization. This turned out to be, for us, also for the research labs, the hardest and most time-consuming part. Things like normalization, standardization, and restructuring, decades of data requires some patience and also close collaborations with the research groups. Fourth is automation. As I mentioned earlier, we used the Sample Manager Python API to import the data wherever it was possible. But we also balanced this with using the LabKey user interface to be able to import the data. This combination gave us both efficiency and also the quality control of the imported data. And finally, most important is support and training. So having a clear documentation, organizing training sessions for our users, and providing ongoing support, they are absolutely critical for adoption. Without this, even the best technical migration, would struggle. So it's really important to support your users in adopting to a new tool. In summary, this migration taught us not how just to move the data, but how to manage change in a way that help researchers truly embrace new tools and ways of working. Now, coming to probably the most important slide of this talk, a successful migration is a real team effort. And I would like to sincerely thank everyone who was involved in making this possible. So starting with Dr. Robert Ivanek, who is the head of bioinformatics core facilities at Department of Biomedicine. He initiated the migration discussions and also played a key role in communicating with the research labs. Big thanks to our senior leadership, Thierry, Sophia, Rafael, Eva, and also Angeliki, who were instrumental in planning, documentation, and coordination of the entire migration journey. I also want to thank Mary May from the Bantires lab and her lab members, who very kindly agreed to be our proof of concept partner for the data import. And they showed a great patience and collaboration during many rounds of testing and validation. On the technical side, my colleagues Ekaterina and Michelle, they did an excellent job working with the Sample Manager Python API to bring the data successfully in Sample Manager. And on the technical, on the last but not least, a special thanks to Varun Narayan, our technical account manager, who supported us at every stage of the migration, answering many questions, helping us understand even the finer details of the sample manager, and even organizing webinars for our users. Yeah, so with this, I would like to thank everyone, and I would like to close my presentation, and I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Sure. Ankit, I have one quick question. You mentioned a few kind of lessons learned and recommendations, but if you could kind of distill all that down into one piece of advice to give to other organizations who are going through kind of a similar migration process, what would that be in kind of your mind?
Mhm. So I think what we really focused on was the communication part. Having a clear timeline was very important for us to define. So if I go to my slide here that I showed, giving users really like and dividing the migration timeline in phases, it really helps user to understand what is going on. And as I mentioned, we created a documented step-by-step instructions, which are even more detailed than this. So according to our experience, having this documentation and communicating with them regularly on an ongoing basis is really a key part in the whole migration step. Besides the technical part, that's of course there, but having a clear documentation and communication is really important in this.
Wonderful. Thank you. And it looks like we do have some open questions here in the Q&A. So Ankit, one of the questions is, how long did this process take?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I would again refer to my to our migration. So we started the conversations around 1 year before really the shutdown, and for let's say the first phase where the users had full access to the system, this was around 6 months. So we gave them a 6 months notice, and after 6 months, the old system was made read only, so it was around 2 months. So the entire process, I would say, is 8 months. But again, here we were recommending the users to make an export of their data. So they could still work in between this transition, even if they have not imported the data to LabKey. Some of the research lab, work with, let's say, one big Excel file and where everyone can have access to it. Some of the research labs during this transition work with, paper notebooks, the old style. So each research lab had their own way to deal with this. But yeah, mostly uh, during these 8 months, most of the research labs that were using the legacy system, they were able to get on board to LabKey Sample Manager.
Wonderful. And then we got a few others. So here we've got, in terms of migrating projects into LabKey, how much data cleaning and normalization did the individual labs have to do versus how much the kind of administrative team did for them?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, each lab was working on a very different, diverse set of data. So with one of the research lab that we worked initially as a proof of concept partner, we spent around 2 months working with them. And at SciCORE, we are not really the data owner. We are not experts in the data. So it was more of the, let's say, the responsibility for the research labs to work on cleaning the data. Again, it depends on, how the whole data or the sample management, the data entry process has been organized in the previous years. With some of the labs, they were quite, let's say, strict about the data entry. So for them, it was, let's say, it took less time for the data cleaning process. But other research labs, where maybe they collaborate with external users and they have different, ways of entering data, that would, I would say, take a lot of time.
Gotcha. And then another one is it looks like there we have another group who is thinking of delivering kind of a single unified solution, similar to how you've presented the LabKey here in your use case. But it seems like the difficulty is knowing who ought to be around the table for those discussions. Ankit, do you have any suggestions or thoughts in hand, or if you can describe kind of how you went about making those decisions?
Yeah. So I would say, coming to this slide, as you can see here, uh, there are people from different, expert fields. So it is really important for the communication part that you have direct access to your users. So in this case, Robert, who is the head of bioinformatics core facility at Department of Biomedicine, was really our communication partner who pushed this communication to all the research labs. Then I would say having, technical expertise is really important. So our data engineers, Ekaterina Michel, played a key role in, importing the data. So you need to have that sort of technical expertise. Then having documentation is really important. And in this case, Angeliki, our organizational change management and communication technical documentation specialist, played a key role in documenting this and coordinating with Robert to inform the users. And again, having a senior leadership who decides on key things like data security and organizing, really introducing the LabKey Sample Manager to them plays an important role. Then you need to find, of course, a proof of concept partner that you should begin with. As I mentioned before, just starting with the whole, if you try to transfer the data just in one go, that might not be the best practice. So just start with the proof of concept and have that partner with you. And the most important, as I mentioned, having you, Varun, or the expertise from LabKey to help us. I would say, starting with any migration plan, since the LabKey team is really an expert in the product, so have a consultation with them first and then plan these steps.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Okay, well, I know we still have some other questions, but we can address those offline. We still have some other presentations on deck for the user conference. So once again, thank you so very much. Ankit, it's very much appreciated. I'm sure so many people can derive a lot of valuable insights from what you all have been able to do there at SciCORE.